The universal truth and the absolute laws of nature for guiding me, protecting me, and giving me the strength to endure the imperfect. I shall attack with vigor, making progressive moves. A divine mind knows, a divine mind shows. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. Salute, peace, and power to the people of the struggle. What's good? First of all, this chair is not doing it for me. It's not. It's not. I'm sitting too low. Peace, Jeffrey. Peace. Black is power. Salute. Colleen. What's up? How's the boy, Colleen? How's he doing? Divine Order, Tisha. What up? Wiz. Grump. Dominique. T. What up, T? Peace and power. Salute. Grave digger. Salute. Salute. What's good? What's good? Damn, there go Miss Denise. Whew. Oh, yeah, we do have to redirect it. What up? What up? Hey, Robin. Salute. Salute. Nah, this chair ain't doing it. I'm telling you. This chair is not doing it for me. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'm sitting too low. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's not. There we go. Willie Holloway. What up? What up? Gino, salute. Salute. Salute, salute, Hodge. What's good? What's good? Hey, Erie County, salute, salute. Bustelo, Donnelly, no Bustelo. You sending me some Bustelo? Huh? Coward culture is being pushed? Definitely been pushed, but we have to stop it. Ah, Mr. Mac, what up? Donnelly, you want to send me some Bustelo? Keep doing the book club? Come on now. That goes without question. That ain't stopping. We ain't even get finished the first book. Dominique, salute. We ain't even finished the first book. Roberto, what up, what up? Okay, the GOAT, what up, what up? DMV? Man, I ain't Kalila, Austin. I ain't seen you in a long time. Ain't no hey. Maserati Fox, what it do? What up, what up, what up, what up, y'all? What's good? Uh-oh, Pittsburgh. Are you good out there, Anthony Hill? Are you good? We seeing a whole lot of stuff that transpired on that freeway out there. You dig? Peace, Courtney Alfred. What up, what up? What up, what up? Rashawn Spence. Salute, salute. Thank you for that. Anthony, what up, Ant? Kelton, salute. Okay, Big Nuke, what up? Salute, salute. Hold on. It's crazy how both of them apologize. I really don't want to speak on it. You know? Jerome Bryan, what up, what up? Trey Finesse, Pontiac, what up, what up? What up? Oh, what up, what up? Why Will triggered me? I don't know, Mr. Bennett. I don't know. Can't call it. Ultra Mag, salute, salute. Blazers, peace. Boogeyman, salute, salute. Ah, Wavy, what up, what up? Have you ever built with the smart guy from Harlem? No, I haven't. Young brother has a powerful mindset. I haven't. Salute, Jerome. Much appreciated. I haven't yet. You know? Grand scheme. Yo, what up, what up? Uh-oh, South London. What up, what up? Black News was good. It's about, what time is it? Oh, it's the evening time for y'all. So y'all over there sipping tea and all that. Huh? Joe, damn, I'm getting mad. People coming in. Joe Dante. People ain't been in the spot in a minute. Oh, man. Where the hell y'all been? This is quick because the day got away from me. It really did. For some reason, today is moving quick. It's getting away from me soon. I'm going to have to start prepping for dinner and all that. And, you know, but I got to get it in because this discussion has been, you know, okay, you out of here, you be safe, you travel safe out there in the UK. Lisa, what up, what up? V. Gibson, tell me the day, V. Gibson, tell him the day. V. Gibson is sober. V. Gibson is sober, y'all. What's the day count, V. Gib? 253, 254? 256. God damn, V. Gibson is moving. 250 days, 256 days clean. I usually don't be in the chat, but I'm always in the building. All right, Joe. All right, Joe. You dig? Bustello's good-ass coffee. That's right. I'm telling y'all. I told y'all. Uh-oh. Somebody, Southwest London. What's good? What's going on with you? What up, June Bug? V. Gibson is closing in on that year. There's no looking back now. 250 days clean and sober. That's what we do. That's what we do. Hey, M. West, salute. Yeah, I don't want to really, the discussion is, but it kind of leads into the bill, which is the false narratives, and there's a lot of false narratives that happen because of this incident, and had you dying on Twitter, yeah, because see, that's part of the narrative, like with Fabulous, right? And how I discussed that yesterday. Like you paint a false perception of history. And in that false perception of history, those who haven't been around will believe it when they don't have anything to fact check against it. And we are the main people who suffered through that history. That is the main reason why we're still oppressed to this day. Because there's somebody who painted a picture of who we are. That right there just kills it. Because you begin to have your own people believing into that false depiction of who they are. So if you continue to allow the lies, like now we have been caught up. Whether you're awake, conscious, totally woke, we are in spaces now where we can say, no, that's false. You could rip down everything, religions, institutions of learning, businesses, corporations, how they got their start, people. You can knock all that falsehood down because we're in a space where we're dealing with absolute truth based on scientific fact. Exactly, Lucretia. So we can stop fighting against each other and learn how to strategize and get up out of our conditions. So when you have this false narrative like a Fabulous saying what he would have did, when I know for absolute fact he is ass. He might have ran before Will even got to him, which in all reality, anybody with any sense should have done. But again, the shock of it all caused, Christopher Freeze, because he knew him. He like, yo, I know this guy. Like, okay, what's going on here? He turned into Marty from Madagascar real quick, like, uh-oh, like what's going on? And for people who keep saying or believing that it was orchestrated, okay, say it was orchestrated. Say it was scripted. What was the effect? And when are we going to start? All right? When are we going to start counter story, counter script, counter put something together? Because all of these narratives are harmful if it's leading us down the wrong path. So we got some people that believe the moon launch was orchestrated and wasn't real. But it was effective based on the story. We have people that sit here today and debate whether or not the transatlantic slave trade was orchestrated, was scripted, was believable. Right? Everything, 9/11 was orchestrated. Y'all believe all this shit. Oh, that's fake. But what was the effect after? What has been the effect after that? A distraction. An orchestrated distraction. But if the orchestrated distraction is believable to enough people, then it was effective. And at that point, it doesn't matter. Because if you're conscious and woke, when are you going to orchestrate something based on truth and with integrity to put you in a different space? What's up? I don't hear nothing. When are the conscious and the woke people going to orchestrate something, going to put something together to give a different view of who you are? So the results from that image can be beneficial to you. Tell me about something that was put together or orchestrated when you really don't know. You don't know if it was put together, orchestrated or not. You're speculating. But we do know that based on how they move, everything that you claim to be orchestrated and non-factual, the results you are suffering from. You're suffering from those results. So it's irrelevant to the fact. Let's deal with the narrative of it. And the narrative of it painted a picture that has so many different levels. The context can be spit out many different ways. But if you don't come from a point where we can look at it and see what can be the educational pieces that we can use to liberate our people, then it's going to win. Whether it's fake, whether it's some Wizard of Oz shit, whether it was something that just transpired. If you don't have a positive and progressive building discussion on what happened, then we lose. So I don't care whether or not, I'm not going to waste time investigating whether or not it was real or fake. Because it was Hollywood. So that ain't on me. All I can do as a liberator is look at the pieces that we can utilize so we can have a true education process and claim ourselves in the being of what we're watching and what we won't fall victim to. Do you understand? So that's where the intelligent piece of the conversations has to be. And then you break down those different narratives. Because again, when you're looking at how, and the only reason why I know of the buildup to get to where they got to is from watching, analyzing all of the events that took place prior to that. Do you understand that? If you watch the body language of this man for the last 2 or 3 years, you can see it. If you listen to the words, if you actually see certain truths in that fictional world. All of Hollywood is make-believe. That's what it is. That's what it was built on. Make-believe. Fiction. Drama. You understand? That's what it was created. It was a desert. Nobody gave 2 shits about it. And they allowed the small hats to go out there. And if that's where y'all want to hold y'all theater, because anybody in the theater was perceived or known to be limp-wristed, rainbowish, those who established this corporation, this land, through thievery, through brutality and murder, didn't care about what was going on out there. Until their quasi-intellectuals said, hold up, we can use that as propaganda. And that is where they started to build their culture, which had none, and start to diminish, falsify, and eradicate the culture of the melanated people who were here already, who were traveling and over to make sure that they can have control over what they took right here. So to dismiss it and not pay attention to it from somebody who is in war is ignorant, is dumb. Because that is what takes hold and has the ability to shape the unclaimed mind. That's what it does. So the narratives of it is what we have to look at and challenge. You have to. That is what we must do. That is what we have to do. Because it is very impactful. It dominates thought. When you dominate thought, you can control action. It's been there since the beginning of communication. We have folklore from the diaspora. Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have folklore from the diaspora. Right? One of the greatest, Chinua Achebe. And again, within the context of folklore, of fable, we utilize that to encourage specific behaviors on how we move as a group. That's no different than Hollywood script. So don't allow people in the name of red, black, and green to tell you you shouldn't look at that, you shouldn't watch it. Anywhere you can find truth, you should be investigating it. All right? That's just what it is. And in the context of who's tough, who's strong, what it means to be in the space of a man, you have to tweak it because it's leading, especially our people, in the wrong path. Because if you think that you are a man because you can fisticuff, because you can war without thinking, then you're going to be a man dead. And oh, what a waste. Oh, what a waste. Salute, S. John, salute. Bottom line, salute. PCB. Understand that. Understand it. A soldier who acts before thinking is usually a casualty. All right? So the only reason why I checked him like that, because I know he is ass. He is. So when they put these people in front of you and you don't have somebody who's been there telling you, nah, don't believe that. Don't believe that. Don't believe that. He's not built like that. Because that's what we used to do. That's what we used to do. And I haven't done it. And I think I have to do it. I have to give y'all a real clear scope of what hip hop was and what the streets was like from a Brooklyn, from an East New York dude's perspective. So y'all can, understand why I'm so calculated and so affirming in my message, because these narratives that's going around are just crazy. It is, and no one speaks to it. And why? Because they benefit from it. When people allow a lie to move and they know the truth, it's because they benefit from the lie. And it's not true. It's not true. And the people from out of the 5 boroughs, from the South, from the West, people that's overseas in London, listen. Y'all need to listen right now. I'm going to tell you as far as I'm going to be able to do it during this short vid here. When we speaking about New York City, prior to hip hop, and coming from the gaze of a person who had no older brothers, right? And the only influence outside of my house were individuals who were teenagers who were in the street and from my environment. You all know my father, I spoke of him many times. Many times. My father, by the time I was born, was practicing Sunni Orthodox Muslim. Sends my name. My name is Karim. As far as my mother and her family and friends pronounced it. But my name is Karim Jamal. I'm named after one of my father's imams. So my name is spelled with an accent on the I. My mother, who was not religious to that degree, she was very nationalist, follow the doctrines of the Panthers. So I'm not doing that because initially my father wanted to name me Akbar. My mother was like, hell no. This baby's too dark to be named Akbar. So I don't know what she wanted to name me, but they agreed on the name. And ever since then, Karim, as far as my mother was concerned. And after a specific age, I was always around my mother and her crew. Always. My father's always there and influenced heavy as far as how to wash, how to study, how to read, how to think, how to be. But prior to him taking his Shahada, he came in his adolescence under the tutelage of Clarence 13X, who was also known as Father Allah. Right? Understand who Father Allah is, Clarence 13X is. You understand who he is? He, and people overseas may not know, is the founder of the 5% nation of gods and earths. So that is who my father was under as an adolescent. Again, because my father's father was either killed or fell out of a window at a family event when my father was 3. So he never knew his father. He was raised by his grandfather. All right? He was raised by his grandfather, who were 33 in the 3rd degree Masons out of Sparta, Georgia. That's how my grandfather established the church in Harlem. All right? So my father was one of the, not the first non-born, but the first-born nation of gods and earths. So I was influenced by that, as well as Islam and being under the nation. My father was backwards. Most 5%ers were in the nation and followed Father Allah out of it. My father, after Father Allah, Clarence 13X, was assassinated, my father went to the Nation of Islam and earned his X. Following me. So now this is all I have in the home. That's it. Nationalist books, books on communism and socialism on my mother's side, Islamic books, political books on my father's side. And through my father's mother, my grandmother, who was just phenomenal. That's a whole nother build as far as metaphysics and everything. She's just something totally different, right? Totally different. But that is what shaped my first reading experience. So it doesn't matter what I was getting in school, what I was under the household all day. So that's all I knew. Now, in the beginnings of me coming outside, my adolescent, no pre-adolescent, hip-hop is born. All right, 1979. I'm going on 11 years old. I'm out. I'm venturing. You understand? We're running around in the streets when the jams is going on. So by the time it had a footing, prior to any of that, there were gangs in New York, especially in Brooklyn, Brownsville. There was gangs. We had gangs. People were under the impression that we didn't. We had gangs. And as the gangs were waning because of hip hop, the people in the street who were those who we looked up to, who ran the streets in Brooklyn, were the 5%ers. You wasn't a 5%er, you were somebody we considered a hard rock. There was no drugs running through like that. Just wasn't. Not on our end. When hip hop was growing, that's who we looked to. Dudes on the street who was coming from Spofford, from Rikers Island, who considered hard rocks, and a major drug that they was smoking was cheaper, marijuana. Little $3 bag of marijuana and beer drinkers. That was it. So you knew who was tough based on if they were able to quote the degrees, right? Or if they were industry fighters, and if they could do both, that's who you was influenced by. You was influenced by those individuals. You wanted to be like them. So as hip hop has grown from 79 to 83, that's what held your attention as a young person coming up. Wasn't none of that. Yeah, street guys had to be smart because they had to read the lessons. Most people wouldn't even know how to read if it weren't for those degrees or comic books. I'm telling you what it was. The average individuals who didn't have parents who were really down on education like that, you had to read the lessons. The 120, you had to get knowledge yourself. You was doing that, or you was in the comic books, things of that nature. That is how you read. Once hip hop took place, it was different. Very different. And it was only the DJs. That MC part didn't come into play as heavy until, again, Melly Mel and everything, because everything was mixtapes. If you wasn't old enough to go to Harlem World, if you wasn't old enough to go to the Fever and travel around like that, you didn't get it. It was no TV, radio for hip hop, none. You wasn't getting it. You just wasn't. So now you get into the whole culture of it. The dancing, the graffiti, DJ and cutting was it. If you couldn't DJ and cut, and if you couldn't really do the dance, which basically was an up rock and all that, hard rock dudes wasn't dancing. They wasn't dancing. So when you started hearing dudes trying to rhyme and was getting that art form into play, you was like, oh, okay, this is where it's at. That's where it was at. Anybody can tell you that men dancing was not looked at as the most masculine thing to do. It wasn't. Hip hop changed the dynamic of that. It changed the dynamic of that. Because now you can still be masculine because you were challenging people in dancing. And none of the moves was what you considered soft or feminine. But you wasn't coming through the hood as no ballerina, getting no props and no tap dancing. You wasn't getting props like that in that age, in that era, unless you was in those circles. You wasn't doing that. And the most comical way to diss somebody in hip-hop was to do some feminine pop lock in front of them. And you got a chuckle from the crowd because the dude was acting feminine. That caused you to get dissed. Or caused you to, oh. So when you have people like Diddy trying to be hard, it's laughable for me. Shit is laughable. Nigga, you was a dancer. Party promoter, dancer. You ain't hard. At all. Nothing hard about him. Nothing. The images that we had of people dancing and moving like that, right? Of course, Rock Steady, right? And Crazy Legs. And what's the rumor we have on him? That's Bam Bada's girlfriend. That's the rumor. Whether people want to know it or accept it or not. That's how he was propelled and always thrown in front of what it meant to be a breaker, to be hip-hop dancer. That's how you got as powerful as he, because that's who he came through the door with. So it was nothing hard about nobody who was dancing. And definitely wasn't no influence coming behind nobody behind the mic, because they was just a bar, but the bar. That was it until Mel changed the dynamic of that. And how did he do it? Coming through consciously. The Message is one of the most woke songs created. So now the image of what it meant to be a man shifted, because you could be able to hold a mic and get your message out and do what you was doing. But they still wasn't the toughest dudes in the street. It still was the guards or the hard rocks. That was it. Wasn't nobody picking up no mic being tough. Laughable. You in the house all day trying to rob? Get out of here. And they were tormented in the streets. Anybody who was in the streets, no, dude coming around, you breaking up the cipher, dudes is building. To my peace, God, what's today's mathematics? God, how you see? And this dude talking about, yo, I come from the, get your ass out of here. Nobody want to hear that shit. That was the tone of the streets. Was no money in hip hop. Was no prestige in anybody doing it. You was not tough. Usher that in as it's growing and people starting to recognize, oh, word, yo, he at the club. Oh, yo, he's on the record. Even when they was on the record. Okay, you on the record? The perception of them getting money from it, and those who did show a little bit, oh, now the Hard Rocks is alerted. Oh, I ain't got to risk myself robbing, burglarizing stores and all that. These rap dudes is getting a little bit of bread now. Let me get that. These dudes ain't have no autonomy in the streets with all that coming through. That didn't happen. What happens? Into the crack epidemic. Other areas based on geographical locations was hit first. So when it hit Cali, Texas, and all these other spots where it's coming through, and even when it hit New York and how they was moving uptown, I'm telling you, as a Brooklyn dude, we did not hustle. We did not sell drugs. The only drugs before crack was dope and coke. And if you couldn't mix dope, you didn't know how to do it, you ain't know nothing about it. Majority of Brooklyn, it wasn't happening. Wasn't. That was not it. You wasn't doing it. And until people started learning how to cook crack, and the only way you're going to learn how to cook it is if you got a connect that's showing you how to mix the coke. That wasn't a Brooklyn thing. Brooklyn dudes was burglarizing, robbing, all that. Wasn't none of that shit. But it was always a part of Uptown. Always was a part of Harlem. They been cooking dope since the 20s and 30s. So crack was different up there. It was an influence up there. But them wasn't the toughest dudes. So when the shit starts creeping into our music, when it starts creeping into the culture, Brooklyn dudes got a different aesthetic with it. We looking like, oh, they getting money selling that bullshit? Really? But they not tough. So what do Brooklyn dudes do? Take. Manhattan keeps on making it, right? Bronx creating it. Brooklyn keeps on taking it. That's all. But it creeps. It's creeping. It's creeping. Coming up through Williamsburg, coming through the Star, all that still is in residential blocks, not in projects. And Brooklyn has the land of projects. It's not in it like that. So we wasn't glorifying dudes. Certain dudes in BK started doing it. But again, these other cats had a lengthy head start on Brooklyn dudes as far as that whole hustling thing. Because you just couldn't be no crackhead in the project. You couldn't do it. You was getting dissed. So what they do, they usually don't come into the projects until after they had their binges or to steal shit. Kids was getting laughed at. You were getting teased if your mom was a fiend in the project. Until society started accepting what that was and having a tolerance for it, that shit you wasn't getting no props doing that. And dudes who were in what now is becoming the industry, yo, you had to be a different type. So once it started having that renaissance, you talking 86, and we in our teens, and we going to clubs like Union Square, Latin Quarters, and now you could get to the Fever and the Rooftop and all that. As a Brooklyn dude, you looking to take something. Rap dudes was soft. There's not one of them. Not one of them who was ever that hard that nothing wouldn't happen to them in BK. Not one. Can't nobody dispute me on that. None of them was looked at as hard or tough or had any props or could any call on anything that was going on in the streets. In East New York, we had some of the hardest. That's the Sonic was both guard bodies, street dudes, and talented. Had fat boys too, who I went to school with. Middle school. Weren't the toughest. Weren't no punks, but weren't the toughest. But what's tougher than the most of the industry because of the environment they came up in. Kenny Mack, you're going way out of era. By the time MOP came through, now you're starting to see an appreciation for dudes who were in the street or closer to the street that was able to articulate it. You jumped a whole, MOP is a whole nother era. Yep, Marky D, rest in peace to my ex-classmate. You dig? We talking a whole nother era. I'm trying to give y'all a picture of how these dudes are talking and presenting themselves. So now, again, let me reel it back to the dancer dude. MOP wasn't 80s. MOP is 90s and not 80s. The dancer dude. When you watching the dancers, you're watching, let me see, the first dudes, if you really want to know, again, who were really dancing like that as a group and as male heterosexual men was Stetson. If you go back and look at how Daddy-O and Delight used to dance and do their thing, that's the first visuals you see of that. And Houdini, right? And when they had UTFO dancing on stage with them, all right? Kane is after that. Slow down. I'm telling you. Rock with me. You're trying to jump. Not in my age group. Slow down. That's the Sonic was first. And Houdini. Right? Seeing, boom, X and Ja Lil doing their steps. But in the back, got UTFO. Alright? Dr. Ice in them. Alright? Come on now. I'm telling y'all something. Slow down. I'm not gonna falsify nothing for y'all. These other people creating these false narratives and people are running with it. And that shit has to stop. Dudes that dance were not tough. Just wasn't. All right? After that, you come in with the Big Daddy Kane and Scoob and Scrap dancing. So now you're looking at somebody who's coming out hard, aggressive, intelligent, spitting, different dress, different look, with men dancing. So now you incorporating all this as the visual for hip hop. So what happens? Everybody start getting dances. Why? Because now you pulling in the women. You already got the men because of the intellect and the image. And now you're bringing the kids and the fun into it. So everybody, is no other reason for dancers to be in it. Because ain't nobody coming to rock steady and all that. That shit's starting to wane out. People are now more focused on what you're hearing and who this individual is. Right? Because LL and Mo D, they shut it down. So it's no longer the group aesthetic. It's the soloist doing what he do. So that's what you're looking at. Boom. Mo D. Boom. KRS. Boom. Here we go. L. Boom. Rakim and all. But when you can incorporate all that, right? Now, Big Daddy Kane. Now, Heavy D and the Boys. Right? Now, Kid and Play. Even G-Rap has Sean and Kenny. EPMD, Fendi and them. But them dudes is not, again, viewed as the toughest. You're not coming through no P's without having issues unless you got somebody with you that's of the street. Just not. You hear me? You're not. So I'm laughing at these dudes who I know, some personally, some through 6 degrees of separation, who is ass. They boots. But they creating these images of what it means to be tough and saying what it did, who they, what, and all this other shit because they have the attention based on social media, where they was in the industry and who's allowing them to come before people in mass numbers. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Once other elements was incorporated into what we do and had the legs, again, narratives that wasn't checked, it got messy. Got messy. All right? Then it started getting weird. And dudes who were real on the street were no longer in that. We're no longer in that. You get a different aesthetic. You get the youth that's coming through, and now you have a different era. Now you're starting to have the onyxes, now the MOPs, right? And look at how, again, how a lot of the elements of the culture is starting to get pushed out. Let's focus on the DJ till he's not even there no more. The dancing, out of here. All right? The graph, out of here. You're losing elements. You're losing it. So now what are you focusing on? A different imagery, the narrative that's been created now of what? Drugs, guns, destruction. You don't see anything. Even the women is out of the narrative now. Remember, every crew had a woman. Miss Melody, KRS, Native Tongues, Latifah Mooney. Everybody. Shantae, them, Juice Crew, everybody. Rockin', you all that. You pushed the woman out. There's no growth. Once you do that, and the only women that get inserted now are sexual deviants and materialists. Right. But even light come from a whole